Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Athenian Show, where each episode is a new ripple containing unknown but unlimited impact. So, Israel has been in the news a lot for the past year because of what they've been doing in Gaza since the aftermath of October 7th. However, today I want to talk about something else that they've done less than a month before October 7th in a 1,700 square mile enclave called Nagorno Karabakh, which is internationally recognized, whatever that means, as Azerbaijani territory, but was controlled by Armenians who made up the overwhelming majority of the population until September 19th, 2023, almost exactly 1 year ago. Now, on this date, Azerbaijan launched an aerial bombardment and offensive on the Nagorno Karabakh region, which forced the Nagorno Karabakh autonomous government to resign and caused 120,000 Armenians to flee in what many have described as a case of ethnic cleansing. And as of October 2023, only 100 Armenians remained in the region. And also, Azerbaijan has taken deliberate steps to destroy Armenian culture and identity. For example, they've destroyed churches, cemeteries, and villages in Nagorno Karabakh and the surrounding area. Now, Azerbaijan didn't accomplish this alone, and they had the help of some key allies, and in particular, Israel. And this is what I want to talk about today. But first, I want to go over briefly some context for this conflict for those that are not familiar with it. Quickly, it's important to note this is a simplification of the conflict, and of course, I'm skipping over certain events, and I know some people might be mad that I've left out certain things, but that's okay, because for this purpose, it's just a simplification. Okay, so let's begin. So, for hundreds, if not thousands of years, Armenians had been the overwhelming majority population in the Nagorno Karabakh region. And then it was under Russian control, and then it was under Soviet control. Now, in 1921, when the Soviets were trying to figure out what to do with the region, the Soviet Kav Bureau, which was the Bolshevik or Soviet Caucus Committee, initially voted to give Nagorno Karabakh to Armenia. But at the last minute, they changed their minds and put it within the Socialist Republic of Azerbaijan, as well as created the autonomous oblast of Nagorno Karabakh, which at the time contained a 94% Armenian population. Why they made that change from Armenia to Azerbaijan, not a lot of people know, but they did it, and it had consequences. So then, as the Soviet Union was collapsing, Nagorno Karabakh declared independence. And because of this, fighting broke out, which continued to escalate until 1994 because of a ceasefire deal brokered by Russia, which ended up resulting in Armenia gaining control of Nagorno Karabakh and 7 regions surrounding it with significant Armenian populations. They also secured control of the Lakhlin corridor, which was super important because it allowed for food and goods to pass from Armenia to Nagorno Karabakh. Now, this whole period of fighting from approximately 1988 to 1994 or 1991 to 1994, depending on how you look at it, was known as the First War. And resulted in approximately 400,000 Armenians fleeing from Azerbaijan and approximately 6,500,000 Azeris fleeing from Armenia and Nagorno Karabakh. So mass exoduses on both sides. Now, the conflict was relatively frozen until 2016, which happened to be the year that Israeli and Azerbaijan weapons trade started ramping up, but more on that later. So the conflict was relatively frozen until 2016, when fighting broke out for 4 days and killed hundreds of people. Now, the next big event was in 2020, when the second war broke out, which occurred when Azerbaijan attacked Armenia and took back the 7 surrounding regions that Armenia previously controlled. Now, this second war, which lasted 6 weeks, resulted in thousands of deaths and ended in another ceasefire deal after 6 weeks of fighting. Moreover, after Azerbaijan controlled the 7 surrounding regions of Nagorno Karabakh, in December of 2022, they decided to impose a 9-month blockade on the Lackland corridor, which caused severe food and medication shortages for the people in Nagorno Karabakh, as 90% of their food came from Armenia. Finally, we reach September 19th, 2023, and Azerbaijan attacked a starved and depleted Nagorno Karabakh, which forced the Nagorno Karabakh leaders/government to surrender and caused a mass exodus of Armenians. Okay, so I hope that gives you a rough picture of the conflict. Now, again, the part I want to talk about is the fact that the reason Azerbaijan was able to achieve this victory both in 2020 and 2023 was because of Israeli weapons, and in particular, Israeli drones. And it's not just me saying this. Reports from Haaretz, AP, LA Times, CNN, and Jerusalem Post have all published articles on this, albeit days, and in some cases, the day before October 7th. So the stories were quickly overshadowed by October 7th and its aftermath. But anyway, here's an article from an Israeli newspaper, Haaretz, on September 27th, 2023, entitled, quote, "Israelis' fingerprints are all over the ethnic cleansing in Nagorno Karabakh." The article goes on to point out that, quote, "a factory producing Israeli suicide drones exists on Azeri soil." And additionally, Azerbaijan has released photos and videos praising Israeli weapons. Here's a photo, for example, of the president of Azerbaijan stroking an Israeli drone for a photo op. Now, Haaretz has also identified 92 Azeri military cargo planes flying from Azerbaijan to the Israeli airbase Ovda from 2016 to 2020, which Ovda is the only airbase in Israel from which explosives can be exported from. And they also identified that upticks in flights between these air bases happened in periods right before Azerbaijan attacked Nagorno Karabakh. It's important to note that not only was Israeli weaponry important in the 2023 victory, but it was also crucial in helping Azerbaijan win the war in 2020, which Azerbaijan acknowledged multiple times. Additionally, AP reported that 6 flights between the Ovda airbase and an Azeri airbase near Nagorno Karabakh took place between September 1st and September 17th, and the director of the Israel Defense Ministry visited Azerbaijan one day before the September 19th attack on September 18th. So clearly, there was a strategic partnership here between Azerbaijan and Israel. And although there was not a ton of data quantifying exactly that relationship, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute noted that from 2017 to 2020, 60% of Azeri weapons were supplied by Israel, although it could be more. And it's very likely, in fact, almost certain that this relationship continued past 2020. We just don't have a ton of quantifiable data because this relationship is very hidden. It's very discreet. But pointing to this fact is that the Azeri ambassador to Israel in October 2023 admitted in an op-ed that, quote, Azerbaijan is one of the main buyers of advanced Israeli weaponry. So the question is why? Why did Israel supply Azerbaijan weapons which helped them capture Nagorno Karabakh and caused a humanitarian disaster for Armenians living there? Well, one potential reason is oil. Azerbaijan supplies 40% of Israeli oil. So you may say Israel needs their relationship for oil. Another reason, or second reason, is to quote-unquote balance against Iran, who is an enemy of both Azerbaijan and Israel. So maybe Israel sees a strategic ally in Azerbaijan against Iran, and Iran has generally a positive relationship with Armenia. So Israel sees by partnering with Azerbaijan, we can help hurt Iran together. Israel was one of the first countries to recognize the Azeri independence in 1991. So clearly this relationship is strong even before weapons deals. And the last reason is just Israel gets money from the weapon deals. So they could just be motivated by purely monetary reasons. But here's my take on this. Regardless of the fact that Israel helped Azerbaijan, in the words of an Israeli newspaper, quote, commit ethnic cleansing, and again, the argument that they didn't know what Azerbaijan would do is complete horseshit, because Azerbaijan attacked in 2020 after large weapons deals between Azerbaijan and Israel. And Israel and Azerbaijan interacted numerous times right before the September 19th attack. But anyway, to me, this whole story signals that, like many other countries, Israel will turn a blind eye to loss of life and human suffering if they think it will benefit themselves and their own pockets. So Azerbaijan starved, depleted Armenians in Nagorno Karabakh for 9 months. And still after this, Israel gave Azerbaijan weapons to attack this population. And for me, just as when you aid someone else in committing a crime, you are also a criminal under the law. When you help bad actors to do bad things, you are also a bad actor. And so, to me, this is just an example of Israel being a bad actor. There's no other way to say it. And what's worse, and why I truly know that the Israeli government really doesn't care about Armenians or their lives, just as they don't care about Palestinians, and would likely help Azerbaijan for another attack on Armenians, is that Israel still refuses to recognize the Armenian genocide. A state of Israel that was presumably founded because of a genocide refuses to recognize the killing of 1.5 million Armenians because they'd rather benefit from some weird geopolitical calculus with Iran. Now, FYI, the reason Iran and Israel hate each other has nothing to do with the reason that Azerbaijan and Iran hate each other. But anyway, they'd rather benefit from some weird geopolitical calculus. They'd rather sell weapons to Azerbaijan and Turkey, or get oil from Azerbaijan, or for some other reason. But that's the point. Besides highlighting a story that I think is important to bring out, this story highlights something very important about the Israeli government and other governments, really, because it's not just Israel. That's vital to recognize, pay attention to, and condemn. Governments, companies, and entities that are willing to sacrifice their moral principles or morality in general for money and political advantages, just as Israel has done in this case and will continue to do. Right? They care more about winning political points and potentially oil or money than actually doing the right thing, being moral, helping the lives of Armenians in this case, or not even helping the lives of Armenians, but just not hurting them, not doing things to actually harm them and create humanitarian catastrophes. That's all I'm asking. But they can't resist, and so I think it's important to call that out and condemn it. Anyway, that's all for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If you're not subscribed already, please remember to hit that subscribe button and share it with others. As well, please consider hitting that like button and commenting what you thought of this video. We do a lot of videos like these on the channel, in addition to music, philosophy, and some theology. So I hope you subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and bye-bye.